One of this week's devotionals from the United Church of Christ was written by Reverend Piwa Lanjami. And they wrote about being a child and having time on the playground during school, during recess, to play. And a terrible thing that used to happen to them all too regularly. In that precious moment, that little bit of time that one has for recess, you try to join in with other kids playing on the playground. And if they didn't want you to play, the words were tick-tock, game locked. And Piwa spoke of being locked out of game after game after game and not being able to share in that precious recreation. Communion is a form of recreation. It's recreation. And it's a gift that should be available to all of us, but as we know, it tends not to be. For too long, the church has tick-tock locked the game. We have said who can come and who can't. But Jesus welcomed all to the table. And the early church, I think, understood that because the celebration was an adaptation of the ritual remembering the liberation of the people from captivity in Egypt. And it was a formalized ritual. Granted, some changes over time, but a ritual. And the people who celebrated were the people of that lineage. The Hebrew people, Jewish folks celebrated it. So it was a locked game. But Jesus unlocked that for everybody. And he said, as often as you do this, remember me. And the early church, I think, understood that that meant when you sit down at the table, when you break bread, when you drink the cup. So it doesn't matter when or where or who. What matters is you understand that it's Christ's table. And then Jesus went and left us and is present now only through Spirit. So isn't it interesting that we use spirits in our communion? Although, again, how often has the church taken the Spirit out and used grape juice instead of wine? But we are living in the age of Spirit. We are the people of the Spirit. We know Christ's presence not in his body, but in his Spirit, how he lives among us. And so as we come to the table, perhaps we should once again take that outlaw stance. Because you see, those early Christians could have been arrested, jailed, even killed for celebrating their rituals, for identifying as Christian. We've lost that feeling, especially when we celebrate our rituals in very practiced ways. And so for a number of years now, I've picked up on the gift of a wild man, holy fool friend of mine, Phil Wyman, who started a tradition, a ritual, open to change, called Midnight Moonshine Mass. It's a gathering whenever we choose to gather as outlaws, as rebels, as people willing to identify with the Spirit of our God and have some spirits, usually in the woods, down by the river, annually at the Wild Goose Festival, where we understand that God's Spirit is a wild goose, leading us into places where we don't choose to go. And so as we come to the table, a virtual table, no table at all, a desk, your lap, an end table, whatever beverage you have, however strong or mild, know that the Spirit of God is there. And this is a practice that is unlocked for all, for you. So come and partake. Grab what it is that is before you. Know that it is blessed. Know that spirit is present. And most of all, know TikTok game unlocked. Let us feast.